and myself. And we'll call it to order, and the time is 7:09. Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes from from the last meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Or is there any concerns about it?
I have no concerns about it, and I make a move that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Okay. Any seconds?
I'll second it if I'm allowed as the person who wrote the minutes.
Okay, you can. Any discussion? Hi, Mike. Is everybody everybody in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There we go. So the minutes are approved. Any citizens' petitions and or comments? Nope,
I did get.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, I was just going to say I got a phone call from a family that was interested in this gentleman's brother had passed away, and he wanted to bury him with his mom and dad, who are buried at the cemetery that's between, I think it's the St. Francis Church across from, is it St. Francis that's across the street from the police station? There's a small cemetery between the high school and the church that's across the street from the police station. And I'm sorry, I forget the name of the church.
Okay.
It's owned by the town. And it does not appear to be.
Are you talking about?
It's not a
circle.
What's that, Francis?
Are you talking about St. Mary's, the one that's shaped like a big circle?
Oh, yes, that's it. St. Mary's, yes, yes. So there is a small cemetery that is the Parks Department mows around it. I reached out to the town clerk to find out who the sexton was, who kind of manages, the sexton's responsibility is to manage that particular, or manages cemeteries. She could not find who that was. And so the gentleman is actually coming this weekend to bury his brother who was cremated in the same spot where his mom and dad are buried. And the cemetery is known as Potter's Field. And it's also called the Spicer Homestead. So that was kind of an interesting phone call that I received, out of the ordinary.
Could I ask a question? Because you're kind of talking about something kind of like that. I had a request. I had a request from Dick Ceravato. Apparently, his parents donated the land that's Fequat Park. How do you say it? Up there on 117.
Fequat. Okay.
And thank you. And he would like to put a plaque on it, noting that his family had donated the land. And I really didn't know where to begin to try to get that okayed.
Yeah, Leanne, I'd have him reach out to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good first start.
Okay, he's an older gentleman, Mark, just so maybe what I'll do is I'll have him try to call you, and I'll try to be there.
Okay, well, I'm an older gentleman too, so we should get along.
Yeah, neither one of you will remember the conversation.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, I'd like to go back to the issue about the Potter's Field and the home. That cemetery for a long time was maintained by a group of volunteers from Pitt High School. There might be somebody at the high school who would have more information about who if not a sexton, who else might know about the maintenance of that cemetery?
Yeah, so the Parks and Recreation Department mows it. I don't think it's been an active cemetery for quite a while.
Oh no.
And I know the town clerk has reached out to the state to try to figure out what what's the best way to proceed with this. She did say that he called me today to say that he was in town. He lives in California, has been driving across the country, and he's planning on burying the urn this weekend. And so we're playing phone tag right now, but I need to get some information from him that at least we can kind of record who was buried and some other information. But I will try to reach out to the Fitch High School to see if how long ago was that group of volunteers?
Oh, that has sometime, I think, at least in the last 10 years. And they were actually doing some cleaning. It was before, I'm sure, the town parks took over. So they might have some records of who actually is buried there.
Yeah, we actually do have that information. There's a website that you can go to, and it pulled up everybody's name. And actually, this gentleman that called me, his mom and dad were both identified as being buried there.
That's a sad story. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So am I correct for the minutes that we're looking for the documentation or how to document this? It's not a whether or not it can take place there, but whether or not, or how to document it. Is that correct?
Yeah, when I speak with this gentleman, I'm going to try to get as much information as I can about, his brother's name, when he passed. I need to get this gentleman's contact information because there's a couple of, normally there's like a certificate that has to get filled out when someone is buried, and until we figure out like where that information goes, I'm just going to capture as much information as I can that would be on the certificate, and then at some point fill that out and send it to the proper person or authority or whatever.
I don't know, but wouldn't that be something that someone at the town hall and records or something along those lines would be able to take care of? Or, I mean, people. Well, his father passed, but he must have paid taxes, correct? And that seems to me that the town should know something about that.
Yeah, Don, I did speak with the town clerk, and she said that she keeps a file of, who's responsible, who maintains all of the cemeteries in town. It was not where she thought it should be, and she hasn't been able to locate it. Wow. So she's trying to pursue other avenues so that we can try to get this issue resolved. But we are going to allow him to bury his brother on the same plot as where his mom and dad are buried.
Is someone going to contact Jim Streeter? He might be able to help with this.
Yeah, that could be.
Okay, moving right along. Town council, any town council referrals?
Nope.
Okay, any correspondence or communications? No, okay. Commissioners?
I don't know, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so I've been doing like once a week going out to different parks. Where should I give that type of report or kind of feedback?
Yeah, actually, I think this is probably a good place to
sounds good.
Share that information.
Right. Yeah. So I've been picking one different park a week and going. I can give you. I did 3 parks so far. I'll give you. I have a sheet that I can send out afterwards with I made some pros, cons, notes, things, but I'll just give a little share. The first one was the Mystic Academy Park on High Street. Went there. There's 2 folks there I talked to about them. There was really no complaints or anything that they said that they wish they had or changed in it. Things I noticed, there's a nice swing set. The parking lot was really new there. 2 things that I think could be improved there was there really wasn't any good signage for the park. There was a ton of weeds in the swing set area, and I have pictures there pretty big. It looks like there used to be like almost a road from the main street to the park, but they put this parking lot, it looks like it's shared with like a water station or some type of public utility. There's really no good walkway. It looks like there was a wall there and someone just like moved a bunch of stones, but there probably could be a better walkway, probably a low budget item to just maybe backhoe it out real quick and put a couple crushed stones or something, and I can share that. The second one I went to was Noang Park. I think that Mark, you said this one wasn't owned by the town, but it was really good condition. There was a bunch of people there. They all really liked it. There was a bunch of kids' toys like bikes, little trikes that I guess people donated or left there, and a lot of kids were using them. And even in the swing set area, there was like little kitchen things for kids. So there was a lot of good activity there. Not a lot of signs, but there was plenty of street parking. It was really, really good condition. Depot Road. So I think we viewed that on our tour the other week. There, it was pretty good condition. It was connected to a bunch of trails. There was nice signage. I don't know. It said something about integrated with other trails. I didn't go through that whole boardwalk trail, but I assume it connects in somewhere on the trail loop. Mark, do you know where that goes to?
The boardwalk goes out to 117 or not 117. Goes out to Route 1 Fort Hill Road. Yeah, almost across the street from the Human Services building.
Right.
Okay. Some of the benches could use power wash, and I had some moss on them, nothing crazy. What I did notice is when I went through all the other parks had like wood chips, this one had the call it the rubber on the playground. It was nice and comfortable, but there was a lot of like rips and tears and replacements in it. So I don't know how old that was, but that was an interesting note there that it was a nice feel, but it didn't look, I'll say, the best cosmetically. It seemed like it'd been repaired a bunch in there, so I don't know longevity of that material.
Yeah, that is, I'd have to look at our CIP schedule. I believe that is on the list to replace, but there's a lot of old playgrounds in Groton, and we're slowly starting to tackle those. But I don't remember where on the list Depot Road is. And that is a port in place, and we have patched that a number of times. And when you go over to Pequannock, the Terracentennial Playground, you'll see the same thing. We've had to patch that numerous times over the years. But that particular playground gets hundreds of kids using that every single day.
Okay. So that's all I had. I did do 2 kind of, not really outreach, but went through 2 open space trails. One thing that I thought about that might be a good idea, Marcus, you gave this list of parks, but when you get into some of these open space, it may not be a bad idea. I was looking on to say have maybe something on the town website or something that we list out, like I'll call it the hiking or outdoor areas, because it wasn't really intuitive to me, like which ones had hiking and what was the mileage on them. That might be something that people are interested in the town if they have like call it an index card. I don't even know the best way to like where to publish it, but an item which these are park ones, but these are open space ones that people can go do activity on, whether it's biking or hiking, and indicate maybe this is walking trails, this is biking trails, and here's the rough distance. I thought that would be helpful personally.
Yeah, and actually some of that information is already available on the town website. If you go to the Parks and Recreation page, and I think on the left-hand side, there's you can click on parks, and then there's an interactive parks map, and you can actually pull up a lot of these places, and it shows the trails and includes the distances.
Okay, I will take a peek at that. I didn't know that was.
Okay.
I don't have any other feedback. I plan to continue doing the once a week thing. I'll send you guys an email where I'm going to be in case anyone wants to join. And then if anyone does want, I am keeping like a list of this and pictures. I can always upload them to like a Google Share Drive or something if folks are interested.
Along the same lines, Mark, I know I've been in communication with you about Sparkle Lake. And I'm glad that you had that sign replaced. But those homeless people are still there. And it does appear that the park is being used. Well, I know it's a conservation area. I don't know, is that a park or what is it?
No, it's called the Sparkle Lake Conservation Area.
Okay, well, it seems to be a hangout because now I've noticed a lot of broken bottles and glass in and around the trails. You might want to consider some kind of gate to keep people from going there after dark. I just want to make mention of that, but I noticed when you pull in the parking area, which as you know is in bad shape, to the right, there's the lake. I guess that's Sparkle Lake. And there's a trail that goes right to the lake. Right in that area, there's a lot of broken bottles and clear evidence of it. So the only thing I could think of is to keep people out of that area after dark. And that's about it. That's all I wanted to report on that. I appreciate the one sign. So there's the homeless people, just to bring everybody else up to date. There's I think a couple that's been living in a tent there. They had a small pup tent, and now they have a fairly large tent. They graduated, and I know Marge Fondulis knows of the couple. And Mike, she's director of social services. And Mark had a sign put up that said no camping. Mysteriously, after about a week that the sign was up, there were two signs. Both of them were removed, gone, disappeared, and within a week now, Mark had another sign said no camping overnight placed up. And kudos to you, Mark, and the department, as I said in an email. But I just want to bring up to date about the partying or carrying on that I think is taking place at night. Anyway, that's about it in that area.
The police are aware of that couple that's camping there, and we've also reached out to the homeless hospitality shelter in New London, and their director has had conversations with this couple, and so there is a concerted effort to try to relocate them, find them more secure, get them in a more secure housing situation.
Sure.
And I thanks to Don, he sent me a picture today, I believe, when he was out there, and I shared that with the police department, and Captain McCarthy said that he intended to go back out and have and talk to that couple tomorrow.
Well, thank you, because that could really be a spectacular place for young hikers. And I went there throughout the winter. It's a great place to bird watch, looking for ducks that are migrating and such. But I don't see other people going there. And it just strikes me as odd because it's not a long trail. So it'd be good for, you know, young ones that if you're taking them, introducing them to hiking, and be a great place for them to go, you know. So anyway, moving right along.
Yeah, I think I saw the same thing. I went to two places. The Sparkle Lake, I saw the parking lot could used to be graded, really. And then there was a place called Mortimer Wright Preserve. It was nice hiking there, but there really was almost no parking there. There was a sign, but right by the sign over there, Mark, almost, I don't know which was, but if there was a couple trees taken down, I think it'd be a lot easier for parking. It almost looked like there's someone's house to the left, and all of a sudden there's a trail on the right over there. That was the two open space feedbacks I had.
Was that Mortimer Park Preserve, you said, Michael?
Yeah, Mortimer. It's called Mortimer Wright, WRIGHT Preserve.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think, Mike, that might be what we have a hiking group that meets every Sunday. And when we hike, you go through Mortimer to get to Beebe, and you can start at Haley. And it's a wonderful, I think it's called Tri-Town, isn't it, Mark?
It's actually the Crosstown Trail. So it starts all the way over at Bluff Point.
Crosstown Trail, yeah. It's like a, I don't know, 5 to 7 mile hike, and it goes through Mortimer Wright, and it's really a lovely place. But you're right, there's no parking, but you could park down past, before you get to the entrance you're talking about, there on the right hand side that would connect to Haley Farm. There's spaces for how many, Mark? Maybe 5 to 7 cars or so.
I've seen that many cars there. That's the start of Brook Street. I think it's called Brook Street, and it's on the right hand side. The Groton Long Point Road. You go down Groton Long Point Road, and then Brook Street bears off to the right, and there's a fairly good sized area that you can park there. And actually, right across the street from that parking lot is another entrance to the Mortimer Wright property.
And it's really cool, Mike, because you can go from Mortimer. You can go from Bluff Point to Haley to Mortimer Wright, go over to Beebe Park, or you could cross Route 1 and get to the new sheep. What's that property, Mark?
Sheep Farm South.
Sheep Farm South. That. So I mean, you could hike all over Groton. It's really quite a network of trails that that the rec department has put together, which is great. So anyway, moving right along. Mark, I think you're up.
Okay. So in addition to the printed report, I just wanted to share a couple of other things with the commission. This coming Tuesday we're having our strategic kickoff with Barry Dunn for the Recreation Master Plan. And we've got participants, the mayor is going to be in on the call. We've got recreation staff, planning staff, the GIS coordinator is going to be in on the call. And the group consultants that we're working with are Barry Dunn. And they're going to be kind of leading us through this, the whole process of updating our recreation master plan, which was last done in 2009. We have already tentatively planned public engagement, 3 days of public engagement, beginning on November 8th and going and culminating on the 10th. And right now, the plan is to have Barry Dunn at the commission meeting. I think it's going to be in person at Thrive 55. So they're going to take a couple of days and do a series of focus groups, stakeholder meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, they're going to kind of compile all of that information and then make a public presentation. Right now, it's scheduled from 6 to 7:30, and I actually wanted to ask the commission if it would be okay if next month the meeting started at 7:30 instead of 7 o'clock, to give Barry Dunn time enough to do a public presentation at Thrive 55, and then we would go into the commission meeting immediately following that. Is that something that the commission would be okay with, starting just half an hour later?
I have no problem.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine with it too.
Great.
I'm fine
Terrific.
with it, but
all right.
lead you a vote or something on that, or can you just declare it?
Yeah, that's actually, Francis, that's probably a good suggestion. If somebody could make a motion that we adjust the time of the commission meeting on November 10th from the start time from 7 to 7:30. And then we've got it in the records that everybody on the board hopefully approved.
Well, I'll make a motion. I move that we adjust the starting time of the November commission meeting to allow time for Barry Dunn to complete its public presentation and join the commission for the regularly scheduled meeting in November, starting at 7:30.
I'll second that motion.
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody against? So moved.
All right, excellent, thank you. Just a couple of other things. I don't know if anybody has driven by the community center, Fitch High School, the old Fitch Middle School. We've been doing renovations to the athletic field. Public Works finished up regrading and putting down topsoil. We had irrigation installed, and last week the Parks Department slice seeded the field, and then hydro seeded it I think Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, and then yesterday we put up fencing around it to try to protect that investment, to keep folks from wandering out onto the field before there's grass. And so we're hopeful that within 7 to 10 days, we'll start to see grass out on that field. We are, to make sure that the seed is getting enough water, we are turning the irrigation on 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. And with the dew that is on the ground every morning, that all of that moisture is helping. And of course, tonight's rain hopefully won't wash everything away. But like I said, hopefully in 7 to 10 days, we'll start to see grass. That fence will stay up through the winter into sometime in the spring at this point. And we don't expect the field, we're not planning to schedule the use of the field until next fall, to give the roots enough time to really get developed to try to protect that, from getting torn up. And then the last, it's gonna be really nice compared to what it was. And the last thing that I had was I've been working with the Director of Human Services. We've gone through a job analysis for the Manager of Recreation Services position. We are going to the council on the 25th with a revised job description, and hopefully that will get approved and then we can start advertising the position. And I would optimistically hope that that may be filled by January.
Mark, what's the official title for the position?
Manager of Recreation Services.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mark?
No, that's all that I have.
We kind of covered the trails, so I'm not sure we need to go over that. And you just covered athletic fields, agency accreditation.
Look, can we just jump back to the golf course real quickly?
Sure.
Okay. So the golf course play continues to be strong. We are, if you looked at the total revenue for the fiscal year, we're tracking ahead of last year already. And last year was our best year. And last year was even better than the year before, which was our best year. So play remains very strong at the golf course. And we hope that keeps on continuing. And we have been in touch with the architect on making renovations to the golf course that were approved through the budget process. They are scheduled right through the winter, so it may be late winter, early spring before we can start doing work around holes 4, I think it's 4, 5, and 6. And then we also have a couple of other smaller projects, replacing the fence down by, I forget the name of that road.
Eastern Point Road.
Yes, thank you. That's it. Eastern Point Road. There's a chain link fence that we're going to be replacing. That's kind of all torn up, and then doing some work in the underpass that kind of gets you underneath Eastern Point Road from one side of the golf course to the other.
So does that come like out of capital improvements, Mark?
Yes, and this year that the funding source for that was ARPA money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so jumping back to agency accreditation, I continue to work on tackling those standards where the review team felt like we hadn't met the standard to a point where they could pass us. And I've continued to work on those. And Elizabeth has been wonderful. She's been coming in 2 or 3 days a week, although I do have to reprimand her for an unapproved 2-week vacation. But no, she's been terrific. And we sat down before she left, and she feels comfortable that if I continue and the department continues to provide her the updates, that she will have that ready by mid-February. We'll have all of the standards and all the evidence of compliance reformatted and ready to go.
Imagine working on the strategic plan can't hurt as well.
Yeah, the master plan, you're right. That was that's tied to a few different standards, and there's different elements of the master plan that are tied to different standards. And we, the visiting team kind of dinged us for all of those standards that were tied into the master plan, because the master plan was outside of the window normally you don't go beyond 10 years. Usually it's 8 to 10 years and you update your master plan, and ours was last done in 2009. So we were outside of that window and caused us not to meet some of the standards. But with that, and Barry Dunn knows what the timeline is, and they've committed to getting the master plan completed in time for the site visit team to see that is completed.
Great. Any questions or concerns regarding that? If not, we'll move right along. And we're at unfinished business.
The only question I have is the standards. So Mark, you emailed out a couple standards when you sent them. Is the intent that you're just providing them for info to us, or say like, hey, these are ones that are coming up? There was, I'll call them red lines, that's what we call them in our industry, if the standards changes. Is there any action that we should be doing as a commission on those?
Yes. My expectation, and I'm sorry if I haven't made this clear, is that the commission would review the policies, procedures. There would be a discussion, and this has kind of been the practice, leading up to our first round of accreditation. Is I would get feedback from the commission on some suggested changes, and then those would get incorporated, and then the commission would formally approve the policies or procedures or the changes that had taken place. So yeah, it's not just for information only. It's I'm looking for feedback from the commission, and at some point approval. A lot of the standards, all of the standards require evidence of compliance, and in a lot of cases the evidence of compliance is that it was reviewed by somebody and approved by somebody, and generally that would fall under, in some instances it would only go to the level of the director. In other instances it would go to the level of the commission, and there's some things that are decided by the council, and we've documented that the council has approved certain policies and procedures, and generally those are cover all departments and all operations within the town.
Okay.
If I may, I was just going to add to what Mark said, and the other is that the work you're doing, Mike, the feedback Dom has provided, I know Francis in the past has had feedback, all of this coming to the commission meeting and being discussed and incorporated into what the department's doing is also evidence to the Accreditation Commission that the process is working. They're very focused on feedback from the community and then the action taken in response to that.
Okay.
And
so
another add-on is, Mike, if you see something that might be said in a better way, perhaps not using as many words, that is also taken into consideration. I know we did some of that work with the first round. We read it, and then Elizabeth rewrote it. I'm teasing her, and does a good job doing it.
Would you want the process to be is like, I'll read through these. I didn't read through these two in full detail. Would you want me to like respond back by an email saying, yep, good as is, or respond back with comments? Is that should that be the process, or something that if there's comments, we discuss them in a meeting like this?
Yeah, I think
in the past we have discussed it at a meeting like this.
Yeah, and I think that's the most appropriate. Yeah, I think that's the most appropriate process, so that we can, rather than getting a series of emails from different people and sharing, and I think just having a discussion during the commission meeting, it's captured in minutes. kind of generally who said what and what recommendations or suggested changes there were, and then, like I said, a kind of a formal vote.
Okay, thanks. I'll do that going forward. Thanks. I'm good.
Okay. Any questions or concerns about anything? Then we'll push forward. Any new business? Mark, it appears that there's environmental sustainability policy.
Yeah, so this is something that I believe the commission looked at previously. Yep. Let's see, approved by the Parks and Rec Commission. I have to find the date. The town recently hired a resiliency and sustainability manager for the entire town, and she comes with a wealth of knowledge. And I asked her to look at our sustainability plan, and she provided quite a bit of feedback, and all of that appears in red in the document that I sent out. So I think she's made this a much stronger document and done a terrific job of providing examples of how the department is working towards and committing to what's in the sustainability plan. So I wanted to share this revised plan with the commission in the hopes that you would make a motion either at tonight's meeting or the next meeting, you know, after perhaps you've had a chance to more thoroughly review. Although I do have to say, I'm going to be, one of the parts of agency accreditation is they want to make sure that you're looking at these things on a regular basis. And so there are going to be more policies, plans, and procedures that are going to be coming down the line over the next few months for the commission to review and approve. With that said, you know, I don't know if people have had a chance to, now that maybe it's a little bit clearer to everybody, you know, what the commission role is, you know, looking at this, or if everyone's had a chance to look at it, you know, prior to this meeting and feels comfortable with the changes, or we can wait until next month after folks have had another chance to take a look at it. And I'll leave that up to you.
I, for one, wouldn't mind taking another look at it. That's my opinion. I don't know how the rest of the team feels.
I have not looked at it in depth, so that would probably be good, so I can give you my thumbs up or comment.
Okay.
Yeah, I only had a cursory look at it, so it would be good to read it over more carefully. Thank you.
Okay.
If we did see some typo things, do you want us to email you about them, Mark? Because that's the kind of thing that we can probably correct pretty easily before people do a more in-depth review.
Yeah, that would be great. And then that way what I'm presenting, or what gets presented at the next commission meeting, you know, hopefully grammatically is polished up, and you know, we can move forward with the approval, provided there's no you know, significant content changes that people are either uncomfortable with or whatever.
One thing I was curious about is looking at which one do I have open? The environmental sustainability policy. There's what looks like a link for a PDF document. I'm just curious what that document is, if you can share a copy of it with us. I'm not sure about like a footnote, like we're going to include that with it, or what.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's the Fort Hill Brook Riparian Buffer.
Yeah, it's on page.
Is that page 3?
Mm-hmm. Next to.
I'll make a note to get that out to the commission.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on that area? Okay, Mark, the draft public information policy.
Yeah, so again, we've made some updates to this and wanted the commission to look it over and provide any feedback before we formally finalize this, and I can cross this off my to-do list as a completed EOC or updated policy. And again, all the changes appear in red, just so that everybody could understand what changes took place.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All righty. Well, I guess our next meeting would be, let's see, when is our next meeting?
Yeah, it'll be November 10th.
That's right, November 10th. How could I forget?
And it would be at 7:30, and it will be an in-person. Yeah.
Okay.
And Barry Dunn will be there. I think just to spend a few minutes to talk to the commission and answer any questions that might come up. And I would expect that during the public engagement process, either as a stakeholder or part of a focus group, that you will be receiving an invitation to go to one of the focus groups or one of the stakeholder meetings and talk to those from Barry Dunn and answer whatever questions they had and share comments. And they're going to take all of that information again and kind of put together a public presentation on the night of the 10th. And there will also be a statistically valid survey which will be going out throughout the community. So there's a number of different public engagement levels to this whole process of gathering data for the recreation master plan.
Okay. I do have one question, and it's in regards, and I failed to mention it previously, with the hiring of the new recreational manager. Will a person from this commission or from a citizen be on the hiring team?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, again, it probably will be early December before we go to the council on the COW on the 25th, committee of the whole, and then the week after it goes to the council. And once it's been officially approved by the council, then we can post the position. We keep it open for a few weeks. Actually, January may be optimistic. It could be early in the new year when we start the interview process. We'll have to see, because we're running into the holiday season, and that kind of makes things a little trickier. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure you're hoping to get somebody on board by February anyway.
Yeah.
That's possible. Yeah.
The hours are not helping me.
No. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Mark, the only question I have is, we talked last time about potentially doing like once a quarter in-person meetings. Obviously, the next one is, and maybe mixing that up in venues. Are we going to do that? I thought this meeting you were going to present a proposed meeting schedule for next year with that type of info on it. Will that be next meeting, or what is the plan there?
It will probably be the December meeting. That's typically when the schedule for the following year is on the agenda. So I'm planning on, because I think the November meeting at this point is going to be, we're going to have a pretty full agenda, because we'll be hopefully finalizing the revisions to this the sustainability policy, and the public information policy. Plus, we'll be listening to Barry Dunn, and there'll be a couple of more policies and procedures that you have to start to review. And perhaps now that it's clear, maybe we could even get through 3 or 4 that night. So I think our November calendar agenda is going to be full. So it would be on the December meeting that we would do that.
I'm good with that.
But
I just thought of this time, so that's fine. I know where we're doing now, so appreciate it.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, anything for the good of the order? I'd like to make a motion then to adjourn the meeting.
No, second.
Sounds good. Questions?
See y'all soon.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.